Packers fans, this is the Packer Mentality Podcast where I try to keep you up to date and shed a little light on what is happening on and off the field with the Packers. Whether you are new to this channel or you've joined me before, welcome and thank you so much for being here. Before we get going, please help me build this channel and take a minute to subscribe and follow me on social media at Packer Mentality. As usual, you can find this podcast anywhere you can find podcasts. After a week of negativity, I'm going to try and stay positive, at least for this episode. Before we get to my preview of the Packers and the Rams, what has happened this week with the Packers? The Packers traded Rasul Douglas at the trade deadline. Disappointing that the Packers didn't add anyone and then traded a guy who was a leader, a good teammate, and a good player. He was one of the few guys on this team that I thought took the field with the right mentality, playing with intensity and fire, which is what you want from your players. Would I have liked to keep Rasul around? Definitely. Do I get it that the Packers traded him? Yes, you can make the argument that he was not on the same timeline as this Packers team, or that they could use the money they save on him for next season. But it doesn't make it any easier for Packers fans to see a guy like that get traded. And if you've watched any national sports talk shows this week, you've seen a few guys saying that this Packers team and maybe the front office just needs to be torn down and start over. That's just plain ignorance. These guys, they don't follow the Packers closely through the offseason, through preseason, through training camp, or week to week, and honestly don't know what is actually going on. Tear it down. To what? This is already a young team that can't get much younger. Most of these players aren't going anywhere for exactly that reason. They just got here. And bailing on a plan 7 games in is just premature. Am I disappointed that the past 5 games have featured the same mistakes every game? Yes, absolutely. But Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur aren't getting fired based on 7 games with a very young team still figuring things out. Remember, none of these national shows are news shows. They are talk shows for entertainment. Lots of talking, not much news. You and I know more about the Packers than 98% of them. Speaking of you and I, this has been a very dark week on social media for Packers fans. Here is my message for you, Packers fans. Have a little patience. New York Jets have gone 12 seasons missing the playoffs. The Broncos, 7 seasons. Lions, 6 seasons. Panthers and the Falcons are both at 5 straight seasons. Only the Lions, of all those teams, look certain to break that streak. We knew before this season that the Packers had question marks and needed some time to grow. Let's give these guys a chance to do just that. Packers come into this game at 2-5, the Rams at 3-5. And for a change, the Rams come into this game in a little bit worse shape than the Packers on the injury report. The Rams have 3 guys that are questionable or out. Starting right tackle, Rob Haverstein. Quarterback, Matt Stafford. And actually already listed as out is linebacker Ernest Jones. For the Packers, everyone who isn't on injured reserve at least practiced in a limited capacity this week. But they do have 2 guys listed as questionable. That'd be Quay Walker and Rudy Ford. Before the Packers can worry about the guys on the other side of the ball, they have to stop hurting themselves. Green Bay averages 7.4 penalties per game. That is the worst in the NFL. And they had a whopping 11 penalties as a team against the Vikings last week. First up, Let's talk about the Rams defense. It's not quite the formidable force it was in past seasons. They've had a noticeable talent drain, especially losing Jalen Ramsey to Miami. While Aaron Donald continues to be a force in the middle, turnovers have been scarce and they've been giving up points. Darian Kendrick, one of their corners, he's had his struggles. He is not the fastest guy on the field, and that could leave him vulnerable against the Packers' faster wide receivers. Think Christian Watson with his speed against Kendrick. So I would keep an eye on him as someone they target and try to victimize by putting Watson or one of the other fast wide receivers against him. The Rams do have some pass rushers with Aaron Donald and Byron Jones, and that could be their saving grace. For the Packers offense, it just boils down to limiting the mistakes. Better blocking up front, no dropped passes. That would be a great place to start. Have a good first half, protect the quarterback, and have a game plan that gets Jordan Love into rhythm early. Give him some easy throws that will get the ball out of his hands quickly and put his receivers into positions to make plays. Move the chains, string some first downs together early, and put points on the board in the first half. Avoid second or third down and long situations. Generating a run game would be a huge help for this offense. But Aaron Jones, limited in practice, and despite assurances that they're going to try and get him the ball more this week, I'm not holding my breath that anything is going to change. Shifting to the Packers defense versus the Rams offense. And we have to talk about the quarterback situation for LA. Matthew Stafford is nursing a thumb injury and seems unlikely to play. If he can't go, the Rams are expected to turn to Brett Rippon. That's not an upgrade. Rippon, not the most athletic guy, and he's not likely to extend plays with his legs. But he's accurate enough, and especially with his short and medium throws. And those are the areas I expect the Rams offense to operate in if Stafford can't go. In the passing game, the Rams rely heavily on throws to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, who are both outstanding at wide receiver. If you can limit their impact, the Rams tend to struggle to find alternative options. They might need to establish a ground game to secure a win, but that is not something Sean McVay likes to do. And part of his reluctance this season could stem from the numerous injuries they've had at running back, where they are left with Darrell Henderson and Royce Freeman as their main options. Finally, the Rams' pass blocking has been subpar, and even their best pass blocker, which was Rob Halverstein, he's questionable for the game. This is a key for the Packers defense. Exploit the offensive line, get pressure on the backup quarterback, force him to make quick decisions, and he should make some mistakes, and Packers could possibly force some turnovers. So there you have it. A winnable game with the Packers. All they need to do is avoid mistakes, come out strong in the first half, and force a backup quarterback into mistakes. Should be easy, right? We'll find out. I'll be back after the game with my reaction. Until then, have a great weekend, enjoy the game, and go Pack Go.